Alright, so before I get into watching reviews of, this is a movie that I found very creepy, very, it's scary at times, but it's mostly just creepy because it involves an individual. You're going to hear actors' names multiple times, so, I'll go into it a bit, I guess, to get an understanding of who is who. So, Obsession. And this person, don't worry about that. So here we go. That's muted, but sorry about that. Michael Johnston plays Bale. He's an individual that works at this music selling store. He wants the girl of his dreams, who is a childhood friend named Nikki, played by Indea Navarrete. I really can't pronounce her name. Then you got Cooper Tolleson that plays Ian, and he's the friend, best friend of Bale. Megan Lawless plays Sarah, who is Ian's lover. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's a very small cast, a very small narrow film. And what I mean by narrow is it does not have a whole lot of things going on. It's just really one central story. This man, he finds out there's this toy he can break and make a wish. He gets one wish. He buys it at this convenient little, energy store. It's like a voodoo store. They sell all kind of energy trinkets, and he wishes that Nikki, the love of his life, would love him more than anyone else in the world. I thought that, watching in Dolby twice, I've seen it twice, it's rather spooky, because the character Nikki, she becomes obsessed with him, to the point where she literally does love him more than anything in the entire world. And she's living with him, those moments where, like, she kind of glitches out and acts different. She says something like, "It's not me," and I caught that the first time, and so I was very confused. But then the second time I watched it, I'm like, oh, that's her coming through, the real Nikki coming through. So there's a bit of a personality conflict involving the real Nikki versus the obsessed Nikki. And so you wonder where this obsessed Nikki comes from. It's like the magic of the wish had made it to like a different version, different personality version that's, in love with, madly in love with Bale. So, so it's an overall creepy movie. It's very scary. Not very scary, but just creepy. And people are calling it like the scariest movie of this year when, we still got like, this is just May. But it's a pretty creepy movie. I mean, it's up there with like a different IP. This involves an entirely different thing. It's not a creature feature. It's not something that it's not anything horror related. It's just a psychological, really, about an individual. How far will she go to make him feel the same mutual way about her? And because he loves her, but he it's really be careful what you wish for. But I think the meme going around is be careful who you wish for. So yeah, I know I can't really. I know this doesn't sound like much of a review, but I just wanted to give my take on it. It's quite, like I said, it's creepy because there's just this moment where she does she screams, she can't control herself, and she acts very weird around him, and even around his friends, and she goes into hurting herself and even threatened to kill herself just to make him love her. So, well, that's pretty much my take on it. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's a really well done movie. Not that long. It's kind of I think it's kind of an indie movie. It seems indie. You really have not seen these actors that I just mentioned. Oh, by the way, it's directed by Corey Baker, written and directed by Corey Baker, and yeah, this movie's not that huge. It's not a Hollywood-based film at all. It's a smaller budget film that you can appreciate, that has originality, an original IP, based off of a very simple idea that nobody's thought of yet, and that's what we need in horror films. And the actress that plays Nikki, she does a real well job at screaming at screaming and playing the possessed Nikki. I call her possessed because that's what she seems like. She seems like she's possessed by some otherworldly wish magic, power of the wish. Indea Navarrete. She does a very good job at playing an obsessed young woman that is mutilating herself. She's screaming at the highest pitch of her voice. She's kind of, as I say, glitching out. Like she even has a moment when she's like a robot. It's like a very tiny moment. And even the guy Michael Johnston, he's known for his roles, and I think he was in Superman and Lois. No, it was Nikki. It was Indea Navarrete that was in Superman and Lois. Michael Johnston was in a few other things that I forgot already. I was looking him up earlier. You may know him from I think he was in Teen Wolf. That's what I was looking at his IMDb page. He's also known for music. He's known for voice acting. And he is. He doesn't have a big whole list, but you can look him up on Wikipedia. He's got several different accolades, including the most recent video game God of War: Sons of Sparta. So there was that. And without further ado, without really going into it, I really want to get into watching other people's take on it. They're reviewing the film, because I'm really more interested in other people's opinions rather than my own. Although I will critique or roast several of these reviewers. They call themselves reviewers. I don't really consider myself a reviewer because, as you can see, I'm pretty poor at it. But yeah, so without further ado, we'll go into that. Okay, so my light bulb is not as bright for some reason. What's going on? It's like a horror movie now. Play this.
A man makes a wish and now he has to traverse the nightmare known as the dating pool. God help him. So Obsession's written and directed by Corey Baker, stars Michael Johnston and Indea Navarrete. Pronunciation check on that, please. Point is, he's a very passive guy who has a crush on this girl. He doesn't shoot his shot. The great irony is, if you're looking at the setup of this movie, he definitely has a shot. It's a big lesson in this movie. Know your worth. Don't accidentally cast magic voodoo spells. But like the Zoltar machine in the 80s, he runs across this little trinket he got as a gift for this girl. It's this whatever, make a wish, crack it in half, your wish will come true. It's cute for dating. Right? And he wishes for her to love him more than anyone else on the planet. Crack. Oh, it worked. And it doesn't just move him up the line. He doesn't just go from B to A. This shit goes from unsettling to absolute madness, hammering home the lifelong lesson, be careful what you wish for. Seriously, he might as well have been like, I wish this girl I have a crush on acted like the girl from my favorite film of all time, Swim Fan. He probably would have had a better time with that wish than he did in here. At first it starts out, it's kind of whimsical and cute, and it's not like he's gonna go, oh wow, that wish stick that I cracked actually worked. No one's gonna think like that. No one's gonna believe that. It's not like Big, where you have instant verification of, that wish thing obviously works. He just thinks, okay, she likes me now. That's great. Slowly he starts being like, maybe there's something to that evil wish stick that yeah. And I gotta say, the cast in this movie's great. She's unsettling in this movie, man. Let's just get that out of the way. Because she's this really natural, pretty girl next door kind of vibe. And then she'll just stand there and watch him sleep or stare at him and have a long smile on the camera, uncut. And you're like, cut. I mean, she's smiling. That's usually pleasant, but please fucking cut. She's all silhouetted, giving you that message of he's dealing with the shadow of the person he actually wanted to date. When she's walking, they rewind the footage so she looks all unnatural. It's a simple technique that I always find to be the most effective. This kind of does play out like a demon possession he actually wanted to date. When she's walking, they rewind the footage so she looks all unnatural. It's a simple technique that I always find to be the most effective. This kind of does play out like a demon possession horror movie, which seemed to be a dime a dozen at this point. But this, mechanically speaking, is a new take on it. You look at the demon possession horror movie formula, there's usually a group or a couple of normal people. Then as an entity starts taking one of them over, they start acting differently. It's really subtle at first, and then by the end, it's absolute demon horror madness in which this evil entity is acting through this person. This is pretty much that formula, though the catalyst is, I wish that girl loved me more than anyone else on the planet. Which I think is a really cool illustration. Also gives you a deeper philosophical bone to chew on there. It's easy to look past, but if you can just snap your fingers, make a wish, and make someone who doesn't love you, you're changing the nature of the person to the point where they're not the person you liked in the first place. They are no longer the person they were. They're simply an avatar for an entirely new set of wills. Congratulations, you've essentially killed your crush. Have fun in your new nightmare. A lesson to take away in case, you ever run across a magic evil wish stick that you can crack and just wish for money. If money cannot buy you happiness, it can help you live comfortably in misery. And that ain't nothing. But this really is modern horror. That's
Very true, very true.
That's right, the things that scare us these days, not things that go bump in the night, not monsters that invade your dreams. No! It's the dating pool and getting what you wish for. That's horror. So in that is using a fantastical, mystical, magical, even terrifying, mythical mechanic to get the plot going. But like any good dating horror catastrophe put on film, it has something real that the people are going to take home with them. And it's going to scare the shit out of them. There was an element in this movie, kind of don't want to tell you what happened because it's jarring when it does happen. There's a thing that happens with her mind and her consciousness in this movie that doesn't really go anywhere, and I was hoping it would. At least more so than I saw in the film. And there is a point in this movie, it's like, dude, just call 911. I'm just gonna be honest. Yeah, I dug it. This movie's horrifying. It's terrifying. I think Obsession is worth watching and worth buying on VHS. I thought this was gonna be BS from the beginning, because how did the cat open the child-proof pill bottle? That doesn't make sense to me. I moved past it pretty quickly, but still. All right, so Obsession, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
So after watching this movie, aside from being genuinely rattled by the entire experience, I couldn't help but think about Aladdin. Hear me out. Remember when the genie told Aladdin that he could pretty much give him whatever he wants except for 3 things? No killing people, no bringing people back from the dead, and no making people fall in love. Now, thanks to a movie like Obsession, we know exactly why something like that is a very bad idea. In fact, a movie like this actually is so effective that it has a way of completely ruining the romanticized reputation of wishes in general. Be careful what you wish for or who you wish for, indeed. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
After breaking the mysterious One-Wish Willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic gets exactly what he asked for. However, he soon discovers that some desires come at a dark and sinister price. So all I really knew about this movie before going in was what they gave us in a very vague teaser trailer that they've been playing at the theater for months now. It was one of those trailers that gave us only a brief glimpse of the general situation that's being presented in this movie, and did not go into too much detail. And it honestly made me wish, actually don't say wish, not for this review, that more movies would take this same approach in their marketing. Obsession is very much one of those movies that is going to be more enjoyable the less you know about it going in.
That makes sense.
Which, to be fair, could be true of any movie, but with this movie in particular, it afforded me the opportunity to go in mostly blind, and simultaneously have one of the most unique theater experiences that I've had in some time. What do I always say that I want out of a new movie more than anything? Just show me something that I have not seen before. And a movie like Obsession definitely does that several times over. The truth is that on the surface level, this movie actually does have a pretty basic setup. We have a guy who is clearly firmly implanted in the friend zone with a girl, but isn't willing to admit it. He's desperate to be something more, and in his desperation, he makes a wish with a mysterious trinket and simultaneously gets everything he ever wanted, and a lot more than he bargained for. And this is very much a fantastical, cautionary tale about how you cannot force someone to feel a certain type of way about you. It's always going to end bad, and if it's happening in a horror movie, things are going to go south quicker than you can say stage 5 clinger. If I could sum this movie up as simply as possible, it is basically a slow descent into madness, and simultaneously one of the most batshit insane things that I've ever seen. You guys know that I'm the type of reviewer who is not quick to hand out such high praise so easily. I tend to reserve my praise for things that actually deserve it. And I'm happy to report that this might actually be one of the rare instances recently where all of the hype that this movie is receiving is 100% justified.
I don't believe it!
This actually might be one of the most tension-filled, unsettling experiences of my life. When I tell you that I was holding my breath during certain scenes and my chest actually hurt because I was so tense, I truly mean it. It's rare that I'm actually so locked into a movie, so completely immersed in the experience, that when I leave the theater and go back to the real world, it almost feels surreal. And that's how I felt leaving Obsession. And that's how real and raw this film feels when you watch it for the first time. I assure you, you are not prepared, and it's going to stick with you long after you see it. And a lot of credit for that goes to YouTuber and writer-director of this film, Curry Barker, who is justifiably solidifying himself as one of the next great voices in horror alongside people in this film, Curry Barker. not prepared, and it's going to stick with you long after you see it. And a lot of credit for that goes to YouTuber and writer-director of this film, Curry Barker.
That makes sense. It's always a YouTuber because YouTubers, they're the ones that's kind of down to earth, they're paying attention, kind of like Chris Stuckman. Because this movie did have a kind of a Chris Stuckman-like feel because, you know, what I mean by that is, this movie seemed to be made by somebody who was local and more aware of what people want, instead of being like all Hollywood executive based, because people who are engaged in Hollywood, they've been doing it for so many years, they're out of touch with modern audiences. And people like these YouTubers, they're at least in touch. They'll probably watching reviews and watch what people are saying, to the point where they make something that is more, that pertains to, you know, the general modern day audience, versus people that are already in Hollywood, like Sam Raimi or Steven Spielberg or something. You know, they make what they want to make, but, you know, all these other horror movies, like the Evil Dead franchise, you know, there's Evil Dead Dawning coming out soon. It looks different because it's just doing a different approach, but it seems to be the same. It seems to be the same horror slop that we see. You know, with just, you know, demon possessed, contorting and throwing up and all that other stuff. It's not unique. This one was unique because it's not clearly like a possession movie, but it's almost like she's possessed by some type of evil, like I said, wish magic. And it's a rather simple idea. Be careful what you wish for or who you wish for, but it's done. It seems to be it seems to be a short film. You know, that's why I thought this was like a short film, but made by somebody who is within the YouTube, how do you say it, the YouTube atmosphere.
Parker, who is justifiably solidifying himself as one of the next great voices in horror alongside people like Zach Cregger. To make a horror film that isn't reliant on tired tropes and predictable concepts at this point is impressive in and of itself. This is an original concept based on a unique vision brought to life with damn near flawless execution. And it all amounts to something that I'm willing to go out on a limb and say might be a new instant horror classic. The way that this film uses sound, the way
just the very idea of it alone makes it an instant classic and something that people are going to try to imitate.
The way that this film uses perspective, the way that this film stages certain shots, makes for a very uneasy experience for the audience. I mean, if someone can make a door that's been taped shut look like one of the most terrifying things ever put on film, then in my opinion that person is doing something right. Curry Barker has actually been tapped by A24 to write and direct their new Texas Chainsaw Massacre reimagining. Now, as much as I don't think that franchise needs another reboot, after seeing Obsession, I might be inclined to say let Curry Barker cook.
You have my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Because in addition to the tension, in addition to the atmosphere, and in addition to the general unhinged, disturbing vibe throughout this film, it also handles violence pretty impressively as well. It's brutal, but only when it truly needs to be. It doesn't rely on it too much, and it does it in the moments where you know it's going to be most impactful. So many times while watching this movie, I audibly said, "Holy shit," in the theater, in reaction to something going on screen. At its core, this movie is a twisted love story, which does not work if the characters and the performances don't bring it all home. And in this movie, they absolutely do. Indy Neverett is a revelation in this movie. I don't know that I've ever seen a performance this explosive, this impactful, from a relatively unknown in a horror film before. She plays Nikki, the character who is the subject of our main character's desires. And she effortlessly manages to play both the girl next door type that is obviously easy to fall in love with, while also embodying an over-the-top obsessive girlfriend character with an extremely unhinged demeanor. I mean, everything about this woman's performance, from the way that she changes her voice, to the way that she moves, to the way that she stares at people, shook me to my very core. Michael Johnson also does a phenomenal job playing our love-struck, naive main character who ignores all the red flags because he wants to believe his dreams are coming true, even if it's obvious they are turning into a nightmare. My only sort of nitpick with this movie might be that this character sticks around so long given what is happening with Nikki. But then I kind of remembered that we do live in somewhat of a simp culture, so him sticking around longer than he should isn't as far-fetched as some might believe. I mean, even when a chick is obviously going through something or completely out of her mind, there will always be some naive guy there who thinks that he can fix her.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I've already seen reactions to this movie with certain people painting him as the true villain of this story, and how his nice guy persona is nothing more than him being a wolf in sheep's clothing, as I guess he is taking advantage of this situation. And only the worst people are going to try to turn this movie into some kind of political statement against men in general. In reality, he's just a guy who fell in love, and he is very clearly awkward around women and does not know how to express himself. And he kind of did something on a whim and did not realize what was going to happen.
I don't think he's awkward around women. He's just awkward around that one person he likes. Because even the best of us, we have that one person that we like, and we're awkward around them because we don't know how to express ourselves, because we don't want to mess it up. And, you know, in the beginning, she could see that he liked her because she simply asked him, "Do you like me?" And he's like, "No." But she knew it. You know, and I think deep down she wanted him to say yes, because she was kind of shifting between him and his friend Ian. Because it shows in the movie that how she and Ian had these on and off relationships behind Sarah's back. Behind Sarah's back. So you see that he's not really awkward around women. It's just whole.
So in that aspect, it's kind of hard to call him the villain of this story. If anyone is the true villain of this story, it's the people who made the trinket, or the people who are selling it. Seriously, the people in that store are a bunch of assholes. If you are seeing anything else in this movie other than that, that says more about you than it does about the movie itself. And they say I overanalyze things too much. Even the third act of this film, which is the part where these ideas tend to fall apart usually, actually delivered in a pretty satisfying way. A unique modern horror concept that actually finds a way to stick the landing, I never thought I'd see the day. Bottom line, Obsession absolutely shook me to my core, in a way that I was not expecting. It manages to tap into some very real human emotions and exploit them, albeit in a very exaggerated way. It's a tragic love story that also manages to be an incredibly effective horror film with a dash of genuine dark comedy thrown in for good measure. It's intense, it's brutal, it's moody, it's atmospheric, it's genuinely disturbing in a way that has become all too uncommon in modern horror films. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but Obsession has shot its way all the way up to the top of my 2026 movie rankings. Because while I have enjoyed quite a few movies this year, none of them have impacted me in the way that this film did. In fact, I was hard-pressed to find anything about this movie that I did not like. I was literally locked in from start to finish. And that's why Obsession, to the surprise of everyone, including myself, is going to be getting the elusive Bill and Ted.
Excellent!
So all I heard in the lead up to
Sorry, I didn't mean to show that. It's funny how people are jumping to loving this movie. I think that's being a little bit too how do you say, easily impressed, or you're being a little bit too, how do I say it? I don't know, you're just being a little bit, you're doing a little bit too much. You should give it some time before you decide that it's easily the best movie this year. I mean, we still got some chance for horror movies to come out. We still have to give other movies a chance. Even Evil Dead Boning, I think it's called Evil Dead Boning. I'm sorry, let me see the title of this. Yeah, Evil Dead Bone, I'm sorry.
Y'all be cool. Right on.
While this video buffers, go ahead and share this page. I like to take the URL of every video I watch and put it in the description so that people can follow along, and so that people that aren't trying to claim copyright claims, like Spooky Astronauts. You know, she tried to say I was, copying her content illegally without her permission, and that what I was doing was unethical by nature. She got with YouTube and reported that me streaming her content without her permission, like it's a big deal, and I don't need anybody's permission to live stream the content. I'm copying the URL of said video into the description. The videos are not my own. Matter of fact, I just thought of this, my bad. There is where is it? This content is not my own. I just don't know if I want to call this a scary movie. See? Anyway.
Oh my God.
That's the same thing that I thought.
Oh my God. This movie. I can't even call it a movie. This movie is creepy. Creepy as hell. It's way creepier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. When I first saw the trailer of it, I only saw like one trailer, maybe 2. Didn't really know anything about it, but it was definitely creepier than I thought it would be. The trailer does a good job at giving an idea of what it's about, but without revealing too much. Something that Companion of last year, which I easily thought of when I first saw this movie. I thought of Companion because Companion was that one horror film that had potential to be a horror film. From the teaser of that, it's, and I'm not going to go on this for too long, I promise. The teaser of that made it look like, not the trailer, not the official trailer, but the teaser, it made it look like it was going to be a horror movie, a scary movie. Turns out that Companion was not a scary movie. Kind of fits in that area, but it's different. But whatever Companion could have been, scary movie wise, Obsession is. So
Okay. So, for all of you that have seen the trailer, you know what it's all about. It's a real simple premise for this movie. The nerdy, geeky guy wants his pretty, cooler friend to be in love with him. So, he goes by a magic shop. Like a real one, like one with crystals and all that stuff. And kind of gets it as a gag. Whatever this wand is, this stick, he makes the wish and he breaks it. When I tell you that the effects are almost instantaneous, almost like a sputtering car starting up though, with the way things happen and progress.
yeah, because she doesn't act really obsessed at the immediate start. She kind of acts like she's powering up to that, like she's warming up to that. I can't speak. She starts acting funny, but then she starts really getting, overprotective and possessive of him, and really obsessive. So it just takes a while. Then it continues to escalate gradually.
But nonetheless, the car starts, and once it gets moving, it don't stop. The girl, I forgot her name, but
It simply speeds up and slows down as times. It doesn't really stop. It might ease on the brakes a little bit, but it doesn't stop.
I think she's in Superman and Lois. She's one of his twins' girlfriend, the nerdier one.
Oh, that's right, because Clark Kent had two sons. I didn't know they were twins.
She killed this role.
Didn't really watch that series.
When I tell you she killed this role, she killed this role. She played crazy. So, I'm afraid of her now. I don't want to run into her in person because of how scary she played this role. There are callbacks to like The Exorcist in this. There's a couple of them, the way they do things in this.
Looking behind me and shit.
Kind of gives you an idea of what may be really going on. There's a specific scene where something happens and you're like, okay, I think I get the gist of what exactly that spell did to her. And as you would guess, at first it starts out with her just being lovey-dovey and in love, and it gets more and more obsessed as she becomes more aggressive, more jealous, more violent. Man. And there's really only one or two ways to make things right, to fix it. You'll have to go see the movie to find out how everything ends. I didn't give you any details, but you know the premise. This was one of the best horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And the guy in there feels like a young Joaquin Phoenix. Wait till you see him. The way his hair is, his eyes, his nose, even his color, like his jaw structure. If I found out they were related, I'd be like, oh, okay.
I thought he was related to the guy in the first Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell.
He got him in, you know what I mean? That's his uncle. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but he reminds me of a young Joaquin Phoenix. Wait till you see him, man. It was wild, man. The sound design, the sound effects, the music, the way they did stuff, it made it like, it was wild. Scared, like legit wild, man. The sound design, legitimately scared. I was like, oh my god. Sound design. Scarlo was done. Scarlo was done, man. I am seriously going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. Woo! If you are a horror movie fan, go see it. Okay? I'm a person that doesn't tend to watch. I never buy horror movies, even though I like to go see them. And I usually don't watch them too much over and over again because I don't know, there's something with horror that there's a mystery to it, and once it's spoiled, I kind of, but there are certain movies that I will watch over again.
Speaking of spoiled, Spooky Astronaut, she has a spoiler review, and I've been commenting on her video for that spoiler review for this film. I'm not gonna give the link to it because I don't want any more of her bullshit of her making copyright claims. She's basically spoiling the movie because she claims, well, the movie's been out and it includes a spoiler review. Just because you put spoiler review in your video doesn't mean you should release it. I think you should be aware of when any film, any movie is publicly released. Give it about 1 week for most people to see it. Not everybody, but most people. And then release your spoiler review. You can record it and save it on your computer, or you can upload it to your cloud or whatever, or keep it on a flash drive or on a hard drive. Or you can schedule, like you could upload it to YouTube, save it as private. You got your public and private and whatever the third mode is. Or you can schedule it when to go public, like a certain date. The movie came out this past weekend, I think on the 15th, Friday the 15th. You could schedule it exactly 7 days from that. You could, Friday the 15th, you could schedule it to be released on Friday the 22nd, which is my next payday, by the way. Yeah, you can do that. So you give people time to go see this movie, but also 1 week is all they have, and then you release your spoiler review. But she doesn't want to do that. She wants to release it during the height of this movie. During the hype. I know I got a pop filter now, but during the hype of this movie, she wants to release it for to get more views and subscribers. That's why a lot of people are watching the movie or talking about it, and they're just rehashing the same thing everybody else is saying. They're not. A lot of them are not genuine movie lovers. They might be. I could be wrong, but anyway, let's get back into it.
And I would check this one out again. I would. I ain't gonna lie.
I've seen it twice.
On TV. I'm watching. I'm not buying it. Excuse me. I don't think I'm renting it to watch it, but if it's on TV, I'm watching it. Renting it to horror fans. This is one for the collection. I'm serious. I think this is gonna become a classic. I'm not joking. This was good. 10 million subscribers. Woo!
If you would have come to me 5 months ago and told me that potentially the best movie of 2026 was going to be a horror film, I would have poked in the eyes like Captain Insano and told you to get out of my house. Would have been trying to have you institutionalized for such a delusional idea. But now look at us, farting and shitting in the reality where the best movie this year really might just be the horror film I just got back from. Obsession. A lot of people have been glazing it. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the hype around it, and I
If
know
you
I've been
browse the
very
mo-
vocal and you're probably tired of hearing me whine and squeal about how exhausted I am of this marketing tactic, specifically in regards to horror films where everything has to be the scariest movie ever made. Oh, no, it's run, don't see it, no, it's too scary, you can't handle it, it's gonna be piss all over the fucking seat, don't go see this new horror movie, it's too scary. Like with Long Legs. And I know every time I review a horror movie now, I can't help but make that mention, just always fucking shooting spitballs at Long Legs for the market.
Yeah, Long Legs is actually pretty creepy when I think about it. I'm gonna probably do a collection at least if I were to get this movie somehow. A digital copy of just scary movies that are like psychological scary movies. Not the slasher, not the killer like Michael Myers or Chucky or Jason Bourne. But, you know, just human-based psychological horrors. Things like Long Legs or Weapons. Things that are supernatural but that are more, you know, they're just different from your typical scary movies. Like, you know, I don't even want to call movies like Scream or Halloween scary movies anymore because they're not scary. You know, just call them slasher films, but they're not horror films to me.
Around it. The point is, this movie had a lot of hype, and nowadays that makes me kind of skeptical. Like, oh.
Honestly, it didn't have a whole lot of hype until this weekend, until now.
Okay, might not be all that special, but in the case of Obsession, I think exceeds all expectations I could have had based on the early reviews, and even the trailer. The trailer looked good, but this is much better than the trailer led me to believe. I went into this kind of expecting something in the vein of Wish Upon, which is one of the fucking worst horror movies ever made. Actually an insult to cinema. Like, that right there is why you could make a strong argument that we were never meant to have this technology, because what that captured is a fucking sin. Wish Upon is a terrible film, but there is something in Wish Upon that is shared in Obsession, which is a wish for love, which overwrites a human being's free will to bend to that wish for the person who made it. It's a fun concept that is ruined in Wish Upon, but explored beautifully in Obsession. And now, after having watched this film, I feel like I can say with confidence the best horror movies are being made by YouTubers. Raka Raka crushed it with Talk to Me, came back for the double whammy with Bring Her Back, which I thought was one of the best films.
Yeah, I forgot about those. Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. I mean, they were disturbing in nature. I didn't like either one of those, but they did work as scary movies.
It was a bad year, and now this film, Obsession, is also a YouTuber-directed film. This comes from Curry Barker.
He forgot Shelby Oates, literally made by Chris Stuckman.
And this is so far my favorite movie of the year. I really liked it. And I think what elevates it, the concept is pretty simple. And like I said, it actually isn't the most unique concept ever. Making a wish for someone to fall in love. Fucking Fairly Odd Parents had something like that with Timmy and Trixie at one point. So it's not the most unheard of concept, and you can immediately deduce where it will go, where it becomes an obsession, stalking, that kind of thing. But what really gives it that extra oomph is the performances from the main characters. So Bear, played by Michael Johnston, and Nikki, played by Inde Navarrete. I'm sure I fucked the name up, I'm super sorry. But they both gave such a great performance, in particular the actress who plays Nikki. Extraordinary. They are really able to sell everything in this film to you. And it does a great job of tiptoeing on the line of being comedic at points, and also just being extremely unnerving. This movie does some great tension building. I just have zero complaints about this film. I also like that it unapologetically uses weirdness. It uses tactical cringe, where it's self-aware of what it's doing because it's part of what's happening. He has made a wish to make the girl of his dreams fall in love with him, and now she is obsessed, but it's not her, and they make that point pretty clear that this is now basically just some kind of demon that's piloting the body here under the orders of the wish that he made. And so they'll occasionally have the real Nikki come through at very rare instances, and it snaps from her being all over him and in love to then just freaking out that this is now basically just some kind of demon that's piloting the body here under the orders of the wish that he made. And so they'll occasionally have like the real Nikki come through, like at very rare instances, and it snaps from her being all over him and in love to then just freaking out like, no, it's not me, that kind of thing.
Are you a horror movie girly?
The film is not afraid to be weird. It doesn't just try and rely on like the normal standard horror movie cliches you've seen a bunch, though there are a few cliches sprinkled throughout. It does try and just be like odd, and I really appreciate that. So like very uncomfortable scenes, like one scene I know popped off pretty recently where they're at like a dinner and he asks, hey, that thing about your dad dying, is that real? And then she just starts going like, no, freaking out, I thought we were having a nice date, in front of like the whole restaurant. It's really uncomfortable. There's also other scenes like that where like when he goes to work and she's off, she just stands there and basically like goes into low power mode and just stands there smiling at the door for like 8 hours, and she's pissed herself, she's shit all over the floor, covered in vomit and stuff. Like, it does just get...
She doesn't necessarily shit, but she does vomit, which is kind of like gives away to the, you know, demonically possessed part, you know, the whole thing that Exorcist started with the throwing up. But it kept it pretty normal, minimum, no contorting, no transforming limbs, no walking backwards. Well, there was a walking backwards. But, you know, which, I don't know, I felt that scene it worked for its creep factor, but it worked where it was, you know, but it's got me wondering, why did she walk backwards like that?
Weird and uncomfortable and unnerving. And I think that really helps sell the unpredicted...
That's what describes this movie, unnerving. This is why I actually, and I will humbly admit this, I rely on YouTubers to basically establish exactly how I feel. Because I know most of them are going to pretty much mention the same thoughts I've had. Because I have difficulty putting words to page. I'm impatient, I don't want to write my review. And I just let other people speak for me. And I will either agree or disagree, or both. But I do want to start giving more reviews and establishing my own review before I watch those.
Ability of each scene as they're building all of this tension. Because you don't know if it's going to go in like a comedic direction where like at a party she has to do something for a drinking game and it ends with her reading a really odd passage from a book that she's working on and everyone's all weirded out. She's completely ruined the whole vibe of the party.
Because the character Nikki, she's a writer. She writes. She's got a book that she's working on. She states it at the very beginning, but you can easily forget that one little part of her personality, of her character, is that she is a writer. She is an aspiring author, and she's got a book that she plans on to write. And she gives a part of that book during that, you know, little table game meeting that she was initially not invited to. But, you know, and because, especially during my first viewing, I didn't really catch the fact that she was a writer. Second time I did, but then I forgot about it, and then I'm like, oh, the passage that I know that she's the passage that she's writing is clearly for her book that I caught her mentioning during my second viewing. She mentions it at the beginning of it, and then later on she gives this little passage. So it's like, you know, there's only 2 times she mentions being an author or an aspiring author.
And then she just goes into like wacky maniacal laughter. Just joking. No, I'm joking about joking. So what if I'm fucking serious? Like that kind of thing. And it's not afraid to like slow burn these scenes. This is a horror film that actually does a good job of being scary and frightening without just using like the standard like demon jump scare or something like that. Like again,
the reason why I called this movie the reason why I said that she was glitching is because the moment when the true Nikki comes through, she says, it's not me, she's actually broken through and tries to tell them that it's not me that's speaking to you. But she doesn't have much control. She has very little control for very little time. And when she hits herself, I'm wondering, is it her or the obsessed possession Nikki. The I'm gonna call it the obsession possessed, wish possessed persona. I'm looking all around me now. I'm fucking horrified. I don't have much light. So anyway, so the wishfully possessed Nikki, is it her or the real Nikki that's hitting herself with the glass bottle? I'm thinking that if it's the real Nikki, she's trying to hold herself enough to knock herself out or kill herself because she's trying to put herself out of her own misery. Because she's aware of it, but she can't control herself. Or it's the demon-possessed Nikki trying to, the wish-possessed Nikki trying to knock out the real Nikki enough to take back control. It's confusing. And so, I might watch it a third time. You feel sorry for Bale, man.
There are jump scares, but at the end of the day, this is still a human being that you're watching. At no point does she, like, transform into some kind of, like, monster creature or anything like that. It's not even, like, very violent or gory. There is some violence and gore in...
Remember how I said there's no contorting, there's no transforming limbs or anything, there's no really walking backwards minus that one scene? She's very human. Like, there's no fantastical ways they try to make this. It's not really too otherworldly other than the way she's acting.
There, but it very, very seldom. It really is impressive just how effective, even like very violent or gory, there is some violence and gore in there, but it very, very seldom. It really is impressive just how effective it is at making you, like, I don't know, kind of tense up just by having a scene with a bunch of darkness in there and she's talking in the darkness. Like, there's a lot of scenes where they're showing her where you can't even really make out her face, so then you are sitting there trying to, like, figure out what facial expression she's even making, and it's really effective. Like, I have, like, no complaints about this film whatsoever. They also do a good job of making you not exactly the biggest fan of the main guy either, because what he's done is fucked up, and even after he starts to piece it together that wish that he made on basically a fucking toy turns out to be real, he kind of just like, okay, so what if it's not real? I still get to have sex with her. So he's taking advantage of this, and one of his friends is like, hey man, it really seems like you're taking advantage of her and she's going through like a psychotic episode. So like, it does a good job of like actually making you kind of root against the main character as well. Like, everything this film tries to do, I think it does extremely well.
It's funny because he goes from initially being freaked out and not knowing how to respond to accepting it, and they go in the whole montage. There's a whole montage for like roughly 2 minutes of them just going to different restaurants and eating out, hanging out, being together non-stop. And then it goes to her acting weird, and then he starts to question her sanity, the sanity of his choice, his own sanity, and as it gets more into it, he starts to question his own sanity, so, and then he starts to be like, I should have never made that wish. But then there's still little moments to like when she speaks through in the darkness, and she says, spoiler alert, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a moment when Nikki breaks through, and he says something that you feel sorry for him, because all he wanted was her, really. Never mind a career, never mind a better job. He had a nice apartment. They all had little nice homes. I think the only one that has a real nice home is Ian. I hope I'm not spoiling too much, though. Try not to be like spooky astronauts. But anyway, yeah, he's pretty much content with what he has living-wise and financial-wise. It's just, I'm not going to say he was obsessed with her, but you can tell that she was definitely the goal of his dreams.
I was blown away by how much I was enjoying.
But what she's doing becomes not only a dream; it's a living nightmare.
This film, and like I said, it is self-aware. So when it is giving you like those cringe moments, being very on the nose, or giving you like really wacky, over-the-top scenes of this you know, like stalker type behavior and like, you know, crying like, oh, why don't you love me, that kind of thing, or like even just something really over the top like you cooked my cat, that kind of stuff. All of it works, all of it flows so well in this film, and I think a big part of that falls onto just how great the acting was. The performances really did complement it amazingly. Like I said, no complaints about this film. So far, it is my favorite film of the year. There are some heavy hitters coming out in the next few months, and especially towards the end of the year with the Dune 3, so I guess we'll see if it stays my favorite movie of the year, but man, this was very strong. I am so pleasantly surprised by how good this movie was. Man, I just keep reflecting on some of the scenes. I'm avoiding spoilers for the most part in this one. I'm giving you just more broad strokes about this, and I know I usually dive into spoilers, but for this one I'm going to make a special exception because I really think that this is something pretty special here. Again, and it uses a concept that I don't think is special or unique, like the wish gone wrong type thing. We've seen that explored millions of times, just not like this. And I would even go a step further and say that even some of the story beats that it hits I've seen before in other films. It's not that unique, but it's the way that they get there and the way that they build it and the way that they shoot it, the way that they use lighting here and the way that they convey it, especially through the performance of the lead actress, is unique. Something that I think is very special to this film. It is extremely rare. I can't even really think of more than a couple of films ever that have made me feel secondhand embarrassment. And I mean that as a compliment because that's what it was going for in those scenes. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. I do not get uncomfortable with movies or horror games or anything like that usually. It's very, very rare. But this film was able to pull that off. Like, it actually does such a good job at what it set out to do with each of its scenes, with the tension or the cringe. Like, I really am impressed. Again, so far my favorite film of the year. I highly recommend checking it out if you like horror movies at all. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.
Every now and then a movie comes along that feels so unique.
A lot of people be saying that it's their favorite film.
So exceptional and even controversial. And that movie is Obsession. We're going to review it. Let's go. Obsession stars Michael Johnston, Indy Navarrete, and is directed by Curry Barker.
Nikki?
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2026 review. Man, this is crazy. I just watched The Mummy, which was my, officially became my number one movie of the year. And then I watched The Yeti, which that review is coming really soon. I'm not going to say much about that. And then I watched Obsession, which might beat The Mummy as the
Oh yeah, it definitely beats The Mummy. The Mummy was a big old hunk of trash, as Tyler Magnus would say. That's not my words, those are his.
the best movie of the year.
But yeah, The Mummy was full of crap.
I haven't decided yet. This movie was flat out freaking amazing. Like, amazing. And, it's one of those, I call it gimmick horror. Just the idea of this, and I guess I can give you the quick plot synopsis right now. It's this character who is pining for this girl he's deeply in the friend zone, but he wants to take it to the next level, and he gets this wishing willow is what it's called, and he wishes that she would love him more than anyone else. And he kind of said it in kind of like just in a breath, it wasn't really a thought out expression. So him saying I want her to love me more than any person in the world could have disastrous results. And that's what this movie is. Even before I saw the movie, I was like, I gotta see that, because the possibilities with something like that, because it's going to go in a really, really bad direction. So yeah, that's the plot synopsis for this movie. But oh my God, do we have some things to talk about? And I'm going to try my best to avoid any kind of spoilers, because the less you know about this movie outside of the premise, I think the better. But let me back up a little bit. How did I see this early? There was the Florida Film Festival at the Enzion Theater in Maitland, Florida, which is about 20 minutes from where I live. And I had never been there before. And this was really my first real film festival They had more of like an independent film festival in Melbourne when I lived there. I think it was Melbourne, but this was like the real deal. You know, they were showing a lot of movies that are high-profile movies that are coming out within the next couple of months. And Obsession was high on my radar. And shout out to my buddy Dan, because I thought they'd only showed it once, Obsession, like a couple of weeks ago. And he said, oh no, they're showing it again this Saturday night, which was last night. And thank you, Dan, for telling me about that. Dan didn't like this movie, by the way. But I can see why. So I went down there, didn't realize the parking at this place is freaking insane. Like, finding a parking space took me a good 15 minutes anyway. I found one and had to, like, you know, somebody was walking back to their car, and I was like, hey, are you leaving? Thank you. I'm going to follow you uncomfortably, and I'm going to take your spot. And then I'm going to walk down a dark alley just to get into the Enzian Theater, which is a really cool establishment. And just the environment of... Don't worry, we're going to get to the review here in a sec, but I just needed to talk about this. The environment of the Enzian Theater, and maybe a lot of film festivals are like this, unlike any other theater environment I've ever been in. Even down to like the seating, it was like more of like almost like a restaurant where you could order like a burger and fries or whatever and watch your movie. And it just the environment with the crowd watching this movie. I've never seen a crowd so... into a movie and really feeling like, I guess, you're a part of the movie, if that makes sense. I'm trying to search for the words to say, but I think you get what I'm saying. I've never felt so involved in a movie, and I think it was just the setting, and it was just a really, really cool setting. So I'm definitely going to revisit the Enzian, because it's been around for like decades, but the crowd was so into this movie. They were laughing, they were gasping, they were terrified at times, including me, the horror fan. The things I love about what Curry Barker did with this story, he wrote the story. He is a YouTuber, and he had another, I think it was a short film or a film called Milk and Cereal. Now I definitely want to go back and check that out. We're definitely having a movement of YouTubers making films. You had Chris Stuckman making Shelby Oaks. You got Markiplier's film, Iron Lung. You got the Filippo brothers. Yeah, and Talk to Me, Bring Her Back. I mean, really great quality films. It seems like everybody's trying to go horror, maybe because it's cheaper, or maybe because that's where their heart is. I don't know. Just seeing this movie, Curry Barker is a freaking horror force. And this is the type of director that I'm going to be following. I haven't had this reaction to a movie since It Follows. And I know It Follows is a polarizing film. It's divisive. A lot of you guys don't like It Follows. That's why I love it. A lot of you guys are not going to like this movie. That's why I love it. I don't know what it is. I just like these divisive, polarizing movies that kind of push the envelope, that push boundaries. And what David Robert Mitchell did with It Follows, I had never seen anything like that before up to that point. And I was like, oh my God, this is what filmmakers can do. This is why we need to constantly keep encouraging young and new filmmakers, because they always bring something new to the table. Much like, you know, the directors of the 70s, like Spielberg and Coppola and Carpenter and Craven, all those guys. You know, every decade has its own director's movement. I had such a profound experience with Obsession. I haven't been affected by a movie like this in a long time. From a filmmaking standpoint and creative choices, I love that the female in the movie, Nikki, when she is under, I guess you could call it the spell of the wish, he chooses to light her more from behind, and her front, especially in the face, looks like a shadow. And then there's moments where she's talking and you only see like her eyes, and it was just a really creepy effect. And I don't know if that's something they did in like post. It just, you know, it just added so much to the experience. And really, I think it's kind of a lesson that there's really no limit to what you can do to scare an audience, to come up with maybe a scene that you wouldn't think would scare an audience, but it really just works based on the creative decisions that you make. This young actress, Indy Navarrete, the things that she has to do in this movie to really sell this character under this spell, I'm just going to say it. She's downright terrifying at times, just because it's just unexpected. How is somebody that's supposedly in love with you to an unhealthy level going to react? It's going to be very unpredictable. And that's what works so well about this movie. It keeps you on your toes, and you never know what Nikki is going to do. And you feel the emotions that the main character, Bear, feels. you're really scared for him, and he put himself in this situation, but he didn't expect it to go this far. It was just a simple wish on a device that he didn't think was going to work. He just wanted her to love him. And the repercussions of that. Let me put it this way. I think this is the perfect way to describe it, okay? Imagine wanting somebody to love you, but it turns out to be at rage virus level, like 28 years later, 20 days later. That's how scary this could be. You know, the person's not angry. The person's just like madly and unhealthily, is that a word? In love with you. It's not really love. It's almost like a disease, an obsession. And this is a subgenre that has been traveled time and time and time again. And I think for every 10 movies, you get one that's actually unique and original and works. Funny enough, I just watched Fatal Attraction, I think for the first time. It's one of those movies I've seen pop up on like movie channels throughout the years. So I've seen little bits of it. I've seen the rabbit boiling scene. I finally actually watched the whole movie, and I was like, wow, that movie really set the standard for how crazy a character can go in an obsession type movie. And I think this even beats that. But I think the scary thing about Fatal Attraction is there was no spell cast on her. She was just that way. Now, I gotta say this too, when you watch the trailer for this, you don't know if this is going to be just a fun, like zany romantic thriller or something like that. You don't really know how far it's going to go. And let me just tell you, this movie goes hella dark. It goes really, really far in terms of horror. And there were moments in this movie, like especially like in the party scene, very few times will I let out like an audible gasp in a movie. Like, and usually sometimes I'll go, oh shit, or sometimes I'll say, whoa, and that's what I did in this movie. There's a scene or two in this movie where I was just like, whoa, I could not help but I guess let it out. And the whole crowd did. It was quite insane, some of the stuff that happens in this movie. And I hate boosting things up too much for my audience, but sometimes I do it just to kind of press, hey guys, you really need to check this movie out if you're a big horror fan. I feel like this is something that the Filippo brothers would probably do as well. Curry Barker, definitely such a talented writer-director. I think when you're a director that's unafraid to put your actors in really, really uncomfortable situations and just ask a lot of them, especially in the character of Nikki, what Indy Navarrete had to do in this movie, I'm sure there was like a piece of her soul on the floor when she got through with this. Same thing with Michael Johnston, the main character. Not to that level. He's more on the reactionary side of things. You could really feel his stress level, how scared this guy was. It was a situation where he was afraid to leave his house because he didn't know what he was going to come back to. God, I could have such a long discussion about this movie, and maybe I'll do it somewhere down the line. Again, I'm keeping this spoiler free.
But he didn't want to stay. He did not want to stay with her. There goes my light. Seems to be alternating. I don't know what's wrong with it. This is the bulb of the socket. Anyway, he didn't want to stay there, but he didn't want to leave. Because if he stayed, he had to put up with the shit, and he had to go to work too. And if he left, then he didn't know how she was going to be. She could destroy the house while he's gone.
I will say one more. I like to say nugget. One more little nugget I will definitely give you about this movie.
Now he's got me craving nuggets. Now he's got me craving nuggets. I don't have very much food left, but I could do for some chicken nuggets right now.
Without giving anything away, is the actual spell that's cast. They go into unexpected directions with it. There's like a deeper layer to it than you would suspect, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie. And this specific element really kicked the movie up a notch, made me even like kind of emotional. There's also some nice surprises in the movie that reveal themselves later. So yeah, this movie definitely keeps you on your toes. Just some really fun, shocking moments here. And this isn't really a comedy, but it's just so crazy and out there that you can't help but kind of laugh after you have been terrified. Fantastic performances all the way around as well. So yeah, that's all I'll give you. Trapped on an Island. This movie was amazing, and I think this is turning out to be a really effective year for horror. I'll have to look closer at my list of horror movies that I've seen this year, but and maybe I'm just on such a high after The Mummy and then this movie, and these two movies are like top of your list level great, and I think they're both polarizing. I do. I've already seen a lot of responses to The Mummy of people not liking the movie. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a video on Extra about The Mummy. You know, a lot of the critiques that I've seen online, it didn't feel like a Mummy movie, and immediately I was like, oh, I got to make a video about that, because that's kind of...
That's because it was an Evil Dead movie disguised as a Mummy movie.
Silly to me. All right, so yeah, look for that video on Extra as well. But yeah, guys, I can't wait for you to see Obsession. It's just insanity, and I'm so looking forward to seeing your responses. Right now, I don't know. Maybe everybody will love this movie, but it is a lot. I will say that it's definitely a lot. But boy, I think it breezes right by, and it's just so unique. I've never seen anything like Obsession in my entire life. This Obsession. I know there's a few other thrillers out there called Obsession, but this one's very unique. Okay, I want more from Curry Barker for sure. All right, be sure to come over to Drum Dums Extra, just talking about that. Also check out my Facebook group Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays we do FIFA on Fridays. Follow me at Drum Dums on my socials. Support me on Patreon, become a channel member, buy me coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and Drum Dum out.
When a pathetic loser snaps a twig making a wish that the girl of his dreams will fall in love with him, he shockingly gets exactly what he wishes for. The hot woman of his dreams, Nikki, quickly switches from friend zone to bone zone as she's ready to take him to Pound Town right away, make him dinner, pack a lunch for him, kiss him goodbye, and stay home cleaning the house, doing all the stereotypical things a common man would love. And so what's brilliant about this horror film Obsession is you get to spend an hour and 40 minutes watching this dipshit bear not instantly accept her advancements for sexual pleasure, but instead say things like, "Are you sure? Do you really want to? I don't know." It's horrifically frustrating stuff. It's brilliant! Okay, so that's not entirely what the premise of the movie is about. Although, if you find yourself getting incredibly frustrated by lead characters who almost go out of their way to make the poorest choices possible, you might just lose your mind watching Obsession. However, in the case of the story, you are supposed to feel that way. But does that necessarily make it a more enjoyable watch? Great question I just asked myself. Let me follow up with an answer right after the title card. Yes, it does. And also kind of no, it doesn't. I'll dissect it a little bit further. This will be a spoiler-free review. If you find yourself enjoying the commentary, feel free to sub to the show Adam Does Movies. I post tons of movie reviews, rants, live streams, all entertainment-based all the time. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way. This was written and directed by Curry Barker. At the time of going to this movie, I didn't recognize that name, nor did I really watch a trailer for this film. Outside of a really quick one, I caught the end of it because I try to avoid previews when I go to movies. I just sit out in the lobby and wait for them to be done. I did catch a glimpse of this, but when I watched the film, I instantly recognized one of the actors in this. It's Cooper Tomlinson, who's part of the skit troupe That's a Bad Idea. Curry Barker, who wrote and directed, is the other half of that troupe. This is their movie. I would find out after the film was done, and then perk up a lot more, because that's just awesome that these content creators online went to the big leagues and made this pretty damn cool film. Also, their skits online, funny as fuck. I rarely watch anything on Instagram or TikTok. Typically, it's just whatever shows up in my feed as I post something there. But when these guys showed up, I watched a ton of their stuff, and it's all very clever. And you can see that translating into this script. One thing I wish they did more of is the dark humor. There are definitely parts in this that are funny. I believe Barker lends his voice to a phone call later in the film. Pretty recognizable. I'm almost positive it's him. And that's my favorite part of the film, when he's talking to Bear. So let's break this movie down. Surface level storyline. What are we dealing with? Well, it's called Obsession by Kelvin Kline because our lead character Bear has a small group of friends that he's been hanging out with for a long time. One in particular lady catches his fancy, and that's the lovely Miss Nikki. She's a self-sufficient, pretty cool free spirit who just lost a bracelet. It fell down the drain, and this is the perfect opportunity for Bear to go to a local shop, pick her out a new crystal, and finally, after 7 years or something like that, put it out there. Lay it on the line, on the table, say, hey, Nikki, booby, I'm your white knight. I want to be with you. Let's be an item. Here's a necklace. Well, he ends up not getting the necklace, but instead this fun little One Wish Willow item that he sees in a box in the back corner of the store, he decides he's going to give that to her instead after bringing her home from the bar. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, Bear, not quite like you and I. He's a pathetic loser. Well, I guess so far we're similar, but this guy has zero confidence in himself and is unable to pull the trigger and ask her out. So when she leaves the car, he decides in his infinite wisdom to use the stick on himself. He pulls out that One Wish Willow. No, that's not a euphemism, although he probably did that later as well. Made his wish that this girl Nikki would fall in love with him and love him more than anyone else on this godforsaken planet. Snaps that thing, and almost instantly Nikki comes running back outside the house, inviting him in. It's at this point in the movie where I started to get frustrated with our lead character because he does not take the opportunity to sleep with her, even though it's very clear that that's what she wants. The reason I'm frustrated by this is not the fact that he didn't want to take advantage of the situation. She could be high, she could be drunk. I mean, that's all fair, that's all very chivalrous. What's frustrating is, after this night, every single decision he makes is batshit insane. Like, this guy is such a fucking loser. He's so hard to sympathize or relate to in any way. And as Nikki starts to unravel and get crazier and crazier, keep in mind, she's already pretty nuts on the first night. Loudly screaming at the top of her lungs in the middle of the night, going off into a corner staring at him. She's completely unhinged. The fact that he sticks with her and continues to keep this thing going for weeks or months, it's a little hard to understand, is mind-boggling. And that's going to be my big hang-up with the film. It's also not necessarily a bad thing per se, because his character is supposed to be a bit unhinged. He is this like super simp who really wants to be with Nikki, even if there's a million red flags flying at him, and he keeps kind of having to re-justify the relationship. And yeah, sure, she's duct taping the door so I don't leave because she can't live without me even for a couple minutes, but she's hot. So, I mean, this is my only shot, right? Let's talk about the good. There's a lot of it. Visually, it looks fantastic. It's a very beautiful looking movie. Love how they filmed the thing. It is creepy. It's scary at times. The actress who plays Nikki, massive shout out. She was phenomenal in this movie. Really sold her. I'm not happy with the screaming. I feel like my ears were bleeding by the time the movie was over, because there are a lot of moments in this where she's just out of nowhere blasting those vocals across the room in a haunting manner. I mentioned Cooper is in the movie. He's one of the friends, Ian. There's another friend to round out the friend group named Sarah. They're gonna have, parts here and there, kind of ask questions, but not really much. It's rated R for a tidge amount of nudity. No, it's not the hot kind, unfortunately. There's a good chunk of swearing, and there are a couple violent moments in the flick. If I were to compare it to a similar film, I would say Talk to Me comes to mind. It shares some similarities with that film, although I prefer Talk to Me more, mainly because I just wasn't so frustrated with the lead character. This film has some solid music to really pull you in too. I mean, production-wise, it's pretty much flawless. I have no notes. The actors are great in this. Again, Nikki, just the way that she kind of like moves around once in a while and gets all herky-jerky and goes from 0 to 100 on the snap of a finger, and just that really unsettling feeling that at any moment she could snap again. That's fun to watch. Does have some jump scares, and every single one of them is reliant on really, really loud noises. I mentioned the screaming. That's going to be the bulk of the scares in this film. But when the easy stuff isn't happening, it is very effective as just a good horror flick. Overall, this was a win. It's incredibly entertaining, never a dull moment, I just want to harp for one final time. If you're following a character that seemingly is doing rational things throughout a movie, yet still having to deal with a bunch of shit that is out of his control or her control, that makes those horror elements or those bad situations feel more impactful because they feel earned, right? Like, okay, he ran out of the house, he got in his car, he took off to a location he didn't think she would follow him to, and boom, there she is. That to me is a lot more satisfying than, all right, I'm watching a broken guy who's not all there himself, and he's going to continuously make the dumbest choices humanly imaginable, and then I just have...
Once again, I don't think he's like autistic or anything. He's not retarded. He's just probably an introvert. Yeah, you can be introverted without ever being like clinically diagnosed with something.
Have to watch him suffer the consequences of said decisions. But because he's written that way by design, it's a character flaw. I can forgive it in this instance, and I can enjoy this movie from a scary standpoint, from a production design standpoint. Overall, not too shabby. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I could rewatch it, no problem. Obsession, it's a recommendation. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments. I would appreciate, again, if you sub to the show Adam Does Movies, and hopefully you stick around for the next video. All right, that's all I got. Take care. Thanks for watching the video. Since you're still here, I got to give a special shout out to my Patreon supporters at
Okay, let's move on.
Hey everybody, today I am going to be reviewing Obsession. This was directed by Curry Baker. This is Baker's first real feature-length film, and so this is my first time experiencing any of his work as an artist, as a director. I am surprised that A24 did not get the distribution rights for this one, because Baker seems like the kind of director that is tailor-made for that kind of art house brand. Perfect for the postmodern love story with a twist, facing the Hall of Mirrors, but no. Focus snagged this one. Good on them. There is a lot of buzz surrounding this movie, and when that happens, when it comes to a new indie project where maybe I'm not familiar with the director, I don't have a lot of background on it, I try to go into it knowing as little as possible, and I did that here, though I had a pretty good idea what the movie was going to contain based on the title and based on some of the images I had seen. Nearly every movie this year, I would say, has disappointed me except for maybe one or two, and not much has stood out. And frankly, in the last 2 or 3 years, I haven't seen much great horror either. But oh, the tides seem to be shifting. We have a winner with this one. I think this is an extraordinary debut that rocked me to the core as far as effect. It uses the whole monkey paw trope as the framework for the narrative. It is a very simple premise, and I think that is what makes it all the more inviting and relatable. You have a main character here named Bear, and he seems like a totally average, sweet-natured type of guy, well-intentioned, handsome. He's awkward, yes, and maybe a little bit immature as of now, but he's totally the kind of guy you'd probably bring home to mom at a certain point. And he is in love with this girl named Nikki, but unfortunately Nikki only sees Bear as a friend. He gets a hold of this vintage toy. It's like a Make-A-Wish novelty sort of thing, reminiscent of like Big and Tom Hanks, that whole thing. But as a joke, he decides to make a wish for Nikki to love him more than anybody else in the world. Of course, the wish is going to come true, and it's meant to be one of those be careful what you wish for sort of pulpy, titillating openers to a popcorn movie. When I say be careful what you wish for in the case of this particular movie, oh, jeez, it really tests your willpower there, I think, because what begins as this little, oh, tee-hee, tawdry little opening premises slowly, skillfully, meticulously spirals into one of the most unique, devastating, and terrifying nightmares, and it makes you feel every single minute of that agony through every frame along with the characters. It is such a claustrophobic, highly stressful experience. It's like a raging panic attack that is somehow still controlled. It is such a surreal experience, I think, because it's partially because it's familiar. It's like the beats are familiar, the characters feel familiar so far as their functions, and yet the reality of this world is somehow warped into this weird place that rests in the peripherals of sanity, like you're gnawing at this tiny little hole in the wall and it gets wider and wider and wider and wider. It made me think of like phosphenes, weirdly, like when the effect of when you close your eyes and you see all these different colors and patterns, that sort of thing. It's like your mind, your eye, your retina, all of it is still engaging, even though it's not, active to the light. And I mean that so far as this movie is concerned, just because no matter what is going on the surface of it, no matter what's happening literally on screen, the entire mechanism is rooted in something that is deeper, so much richer, that I still want to probe. Even when a character is in a scene where maybe it's meant to be a sweet scene, they're smiling, they feel carefree, whatever it is, on the other side of it, subliminally, I can just feel something very sinister. It's almost like you can feel bruising or like blood clots that are rippling out of it. It's like something is being curated against my knowledge here, and it's unraveling so slowly and methodically with such cleverness. And that is just, for my personal taste, that's the atmosphere I love in these kinds of movies. Why I say, too, that I'm surprised that A24 didn't snag it is because this isn't some fun kind of jump scare type of movie. Yes, there are jump scares in it, but it's such a heavy experience, and it's a heavy exploration, I would say, of modern romance. I love the style of this film and the cinematography of it. I think it's just perfect. The grainy textures and the colors, how they're very aged, almost like they're sour. It's all perfectly melded into the mood here, and there's a nostalgic quality to it where it almost looks like it was shot on film. It's meant to give, I think, that quality. It feels like a movie that came out in maybe the late 1970s or early 80s. Stylistically, it reminded me of a movie like It Follows, which I think is one of the great horror films of maybe the last 15 years, but in the same way, the score has a kind of like new agey synth sort of thing that is reminiscent of the 80s, but it can be updated for the modern youth. There's something about it where you can be very reflective in that music, and it can also be haunting in effect. I love the attention to detail in Bear's house in the movie, just like the old photographs on the wall, the glass Coca-Cola bottles, the lampshades, and of course just in the town, the idea of the antique shop. It's a world of the past that again is somehow brought into the present, and yet it somehow fully makes sense. And the mise-en-scene, it's not obnoxious, it's not too forward, it all feels very authentic. It's right on the money. The performances in this one as well are absolutely incredible, and it's great that these are all unknown actors. Michael Johnston plays the protagonist here, and I think he's wonderful in this. He's so boyish and sincere, and I like that he plays him as somebody, yes, well-intentioned, shy. He's the perfect protagonist for a setup like this because he's so instantly relatable and likable, and you don't want to see this person suffer, but oh, you're gonna. It's that Jimmy Stewart thing in Vertigo where you take the aw shucks kind of guy and you violently shock it out of him. You take him out of his comfort zone and force him to confront his actions, his primal side, his darker sides, and you wonder how far is this movie willing to push him, but also how long is he going to allow for this to keep happening? To watch somebody go through something who is just trying to figure it out, who just made an honest mistake, it's devastating. And the young lady who played Nikki, good lord, move over Glenn Close. She takes that whole "I will not be ignored, Dan" cliche to the most deranged, most unhinged places. This seems very inspired by Isabella Adjani in Possession. She is ranging here from like extreme mania, hysteria to passive aggressiveness, but back into extreme violence where the tone is just woo woo woo, and it keeps you on pins and needles. There is a scene in this movie where the direction, her performance, everything weaves together so well with such clever blocking, staging, all of that. Yeah, let me tell you, it is one of the most unnerving, most haunting scenes I have seen in a long time, to the point I wanted the scene to be over so I could relax. Very rarely do horror movies make me feel that anymore these days because I am desensitized, so congratulations to this one for getting the reaction out of me. I could see some detractors seeing the main character's actions, especially in the second half of the movie, to be maybe a bit of a stretch where you need suspension of disbelief, but the more that I think about him, the more I kind of like the way it was done, because if you've ever been in a toxic relationship that is built on obsession and codependency, there is that very serious feeling of you can't get out of it. You're trapped in a vicious cycle where you don't know what to do. Leaving the relationship will break you, but also staying in the relationship is going to break you. And you don't know how to put an end to it without things escalating further, making things worse. Yes, her behaviors become more and more psychotic, and he keeps allowing it to happen no matter how outlandish it is, no matter what people are saying around him, because that's what happens when your perceptions of reality are so jolted when you're in a toxic romance. Our main character is so not ready to face romance, any sort of serious romance, until he discovers that confidence. And I know that with this situation, it was just on impulse. He wasn't meaning for it to go like this. He wasn't thinking it through, and it's totally forgivable. But at the same time, we also need to face the facts. If you wish for a woman to love you out of your own selfishness, out of your own needs as a man, completely disregarding her own path, what she wants for her own life, her own autonomy, what do you think is going to happen realistically? It's the whole lotus feet thing, in a sense, where you're forcing somebody into something. It's a brainwashing of sorts. And yes, when that happens to this character in particular, her mind and body, the way that she expresses extreme love or passion, whatever it is not going to be healthy. And it is very dangerous when you decide to play God like that and test the natural order of things. Somehow this movie always keeps you guessing, and it's terrible because it's like it's constantly reminding you of the things that you think you want, and how truly awful it can be when you realize you're not meant to have this. This was not meant for you. It shouldn't be meant for anyone. Now you have to deal with it. You have to deal with the consequences. So it feels like a meditation on men and women in their social roles. It's a meditation on drug use, on mental illness. It frames the horror in such a way where the terror enhances the pains of reality, where the film language has such a nice ebb and flow to it between the dramatic, the shocking, the sweet, the funny, the heartbreaking. This movie is very funny. I keep forgetting to mention that. And by the end of the film, when I got in my car, I just felt this like release where I wanted to cry. It's just, again, there's a richness to this movie where the release of the emotions felt right. I really loved this on an initial viewing. This is easily one of the best movies of the year, and I can't wait to run it back because I think there are things maybe in the plot that could have made it even better. Probably nitpicks, but I could feel it. I could feel very early on in this something special is happening where I'm like, ooh, a new director has entered the chat. Like I said, it's hilarious as well in a very off-kilter way. You've got to see this. It's a full-price movie in the theater, absolutely. I think we have an instant horror classic on our hands, and so yeah, that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website as always. It is deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commission portraits, and I also sell prints of my work. If that is something that you're interested in, you can always go to the website below. And if you have a question about a commission or a print, you can always email me. My email is in the description box below as well. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons who are great. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Welcome to all the new members. If you are interested in supporting, the link for that is below, as well as the rest of my social media information. You can watch my videos here, and you can subscribe.
You get stuck in us. Thank you. Thank you.
I will be sleeping with the lights on for the next couple nights after watching that movie. I watched Obsession today.
No, it's different.
And,
oh, wait a minute.
This is the scariest movie I've seen in, like, at least a couple years. I've seen a lot of movies. I have. There's a lot of movies about women who go crazy. Whether out of jealousy,
especially white women,
because they're insane or demonic possession. Okay? If you know me, my archetype, the thing that gives me fear above everything else, is smiling brunettes in the dark who look demonic. There have been a couple movies that have thrown that in my face. Evil Dead Rise, Smile, the movie Smile, right? Obsession is scarier than every single one of them. It makes them look like child's play. For those of you who don't know what this film is about, a dude who really has a huge crush on a female friend of his who's very attractive. She's fine. She's the baddie. I'll give him this, alright? I'm pretty sure the actress who played Lana Lang's daughter in Superman and Lois is playing the main girl in this. She bad. He basically takes this...
She's plain. She's plain at best.
Stick. This keepsake, they call a one-wish willow, as a gag from a magic store, and says he gives his one wish, which is, I wish she would love me more than anything in the world, or anyone in the world, and then snaps the thing.
It's actually made out of wood, that's why it's called a willow.
And then the spell comes true. And over the course of the film, you see her love for this dude grow, fester, until it becomes violent, psychotic, and some of the most terrifying thing. I just, if there's anything that makes a sound in my room, I'm going to jump, because this is like, I'm not even doing drugs today. I'm not even doing cocaine. Otherwise, I'd be tweaking all over the place. I want to say a couple things. Some of you may not be scared of this kind of concept because you've probably seen it done many times before. In my opinion, this is the scariest version of the concept ever conceived. Some of you may not find the idea of a scary, psychotic chick who's smiling and has black hair, you might not find it as scary as I do. But you will like this movie. Cinematography, the lighting, the way they make this girl look in the shadows, the music, the score is great. The acting, the actress who plays the girl, I'm going to say this one more time because I hope this movie makes a lot of money. This actress deserves an award. She is genuinely terrifying, more terrifying than any demonically possessed chick I've seen in a movie. The way she changes her voice. There's a scene where the main dude, he's in bed with her. My God, man, when there are nighttime scenes and this dude wakes up and she's not in the bed with him, she's in another corner of the room in the dark doing some weird shit. I literally couldn't look at the screen, man. I had my shirt over my face, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a little bitch when it comes to this stuff, man. The way she speaks, the way she cries, the way she shouts, the way she screams, it's living rent-free in my head, man. The moment, whenever she gets set off.
Sounds like you are obsessed with horror.
By certain things, okay? And when she gets set off, I'm afraid for everyone's life. And the funniest part is, the main character who she's in love with, because of the spell this idiot casted, you know that he's not in any danger from her, right? Because she would never hurt him. She would hurt herself before hurting him. But everybody else in the movie is expendable, bruh. She don't care. This movie has a jump scare that made everyone in the theater jump. Everyone. But the scariest scene to me, and I'm not going to spoil anything. The scariest scene to me is the nighttime scenes when he's in bed with her. My God, the suspense. It's not like this movie has that many jump scares. It has like 3 or 4. It's about, we're going to put her on screen without cuts. We're not cutting it. And we're going to just tell the actress, look as creepy, dude. Be as creepy as possible. And I'm saying this as someone who would tap that. I would tap that. She's my type. She's everybody's type who has a brain, right?
Yep, he's obsessed with her.
I ain't playing with this bitch. If I was to see this chick acting like this in a party, because she is there's a party scene where she's there chilling with friends, and you've seen clips of it in the trailer. I would literally call in an airstrike to nuke the entire city from orbit. That's how scary this chick is. I don't want to be in the same realm as her, let alone city. She's that good. As for the spell, the magic that gets her in this state, it's interesting, the lore behind this, because you don't actually know how it works, but you do get the semblance that this wish, the nature of what he's asked this wish to do, which is make her fall in love with me, which is something you know her character probably wouldn't do on her own, that means you're naturally changing who this person is. And her name is Nikki in this, okay? The real Nikki, there is a scene that shows you maybe she's still in there somewhere, but what I just wanna go ahead and tell that there is at least a hint that she may be into him. Maybe. It's not quite clear, but she may be into him. Like, she deliberately asked him, do you like me? And you see her expression, it seems to be that she hoped that he'll say yes. She's hoping that he'll say yes, but he says no. No, because she probably did actually feel some type of affection towards him. Even if it's a little bit. That's what Donald Trump did. You know what I'm saying? It's so she probably did feel some type of special attraction to him. That's at the beginning, before she's even taken over by that wish demon, as I call it. Exists now is a husk, a shadow of herself, with the most terrifying impulses of all time. I shat myself when I watched this. You might laugh at me.
If you don't know what that means, he's basically saying he shit himself.
I don't blame you. Many of you probably don't understand the way this archetype makes me feel. Maybe it's childhood trauma I have, a nightmare or something.
Maybe.
This movie made me shit myself. There are scenes where she's not even on screen and you hear her voice the way she's screaming from some other room, and I'm like, God damn, bro. I literally wanted this movie to be over. And I don't mean that in the bad way. This is a very well done movie. This is the maybe up for the best movie I've seen all year. Is definitely the scariest movie, the best horror movie I've seen all year. I literally will not watch another horror movie after Backrooms. I'm done with horror for the year. That's how much this scared me. And I don't think Backrooms is going to do to me what this did to me, because the concept is just. I wanted this movie to end. On several occasions, I wanted to off myself. I would rather not live than have to suffer through what this dude was suffering. This dude's in bed, and if he makes one movement, this chick is gonna lose her shit. And listen, again, this is not the most original story you've ever seen. It's not the most unpredictable story you've ever seen. You kind of know where this is headed. You know the concept, right? You know the pattern with these kind of films. It's the most well done version of this idea, though. Oh, Zaviwell, we all know a girl like this. Yeah. But when you see the way this chick acts, and I mean on a performance level, you can be like, yeah, I don't want to exist in the world that this chick exists in. She is a horror movie icon. This movie's destined to become a classic. Any one of you who's a horror movie fan, you owe it to yourself to watch this. And try to find the biggest audience you can, and take your friends. I'm going to watch this again with a certain group of friends of mine who I know are going to freak out when they see this. This movie's that good. It's so well acted, so well crafted. Well written too, pretty much. There's one thing that could have been fleshed out a bit more, in my opinion. I don't want to spoil it, but it's something to do with what the nature of this magic thing is and what it does to the person. And I was really interested by it. But it's one of those things where the less they reveal about it, the more mysterious it is. The more mysterious it is, the more aura it has, and the better it is. Movies tend to kill their mystery when they reveal everything, so I'm kind of glad that they didn't fully explain this. But the fact that this kind of item, this Wish Willow, is being sold like this en masse is insane. It's insane what would happen to society. And it really...
Most people wouldn't buy it, is the thing about it. It was like $6.99. Most people wouldn't buy it. Especially when he said, it's like, I'm not going to spoil it, but you know.
It makes you ask yourself, okay, what the hell would you wish for? And if you're wishing something that has to do with another person, are you killing that person by doing that? You're killing the very person that you loved. Right? It makes you ask, what would you... This guy goes to other people, trying to get them to do this one wish willow thing, okay? I'm not going to touch too much about it. And it's very predictable what people will wish for, and their reactions to it. It's an interesting concept, and it could have been fleshed out much more, but it's not ultimately about the one wish willow and what it would do to society. It's about this bitch. This girl. This crazy, evil bitch. And I feel so bad for her, because this is not her fault. It's the dude's fault. He kind of is the villain of the story, right? Even when he knows some shit's not right, he still lets it go because he's just that desperate, that obsessed with this girl, right? It's his fault. What he has done to this girl is like... Everything just went silent. What he's done to this girl it's deplorable, morally. It's deplorable. You could argue the thing he's with, the girl he's with, is not really the girl he wants, and the girl he wants is somewhere stuck in there, and none of it is... It's all different kinds of fucked up. This movie traumatized me. It sent one person into the theater into a panic attack. I'm not even lying about that. You might not find it that scary. I'm going to say this right now. One of the best horror movies I've ever seen in my life. Scariest movie of the year. Scariest movie of the last 5 years, maybe. Watch it. I ain't sleeping. At all. And if anyone turns the lights off on me, I'll kill them. Unless it's her. In which case, I'll off myself. I am in a different part of...
She will probably keep you from offing yourself, really. Yeah, she'd probably do that.
I'm in a different place right now, not in the hotel. I'm held up in a crib somewhere. Ice was after me. I will be coming back soon. Alright? Not in the hotel. I'm in unless it's her. In which case, I'll off myself. I am in a different part of... I'm in a different place right now, not in the hotel. I'm held up in a crib somewhere. Ice was after me. I will be coming back soon. All right. The part of the U.S. I'm in now does not want me there, so I need to go to another part of the U.S. Let's see what happens. This is what I get for talking shit about Donald Trump on this app. Bye.
So, obsession, okay? 18 for strong violence and gore. And that's why you're probably not going to enjoy it. So,
okay, we're going to start over with this. I'm going to take a quick break and go get me some McDonald's. But we'll start with this later on, so thank you, like and subscribe.